All right. So, invocation today. I'll tell you a little story. Woman walked into a restaurant once, and it was a very fancy restaurant. And the head waiter, walked up and said, "Hey, welcome, and welcome to our restaurant. We'll please seat you." And he said, "Oh, there's a lot of Americans. This is in a foreign country. So there's a lot of Americans here today." And the lady says, "Oh, is that right?" He said, "Yes, there is." She says, "Well, when you serve dessert, you let me know, and I'll tell you exactly how many Americans there are here." So that's impossible. She said, "Yeah, just let me know." So the courses go by, and dessert comes, and he serves dessert, and the lady gets up and she walks around and she counts and she looks around and she comes back. He says, "You have exactly 56 Americans here tonight." He said, "That's impossible." So he go back and he checks his register and he says, "How did you know that?" She said, "Well, in America, when we eat a slice of cake or pie, we eat from the tip to the back. When you eat a slice of pie or cake, you eat from the back to the tip." Interesting. What else do we do subconsciously without even thinking about it? Something to think about. And I'm just going to leave you with that because we have to learn. We have to learn to really think about what we're thinking about because we can't walk through life as a robot, just kind of doing things automatically without even thinking about it. So I'm going to encourage you to think about what you're thinking about. And that's all I have for you today. Think about what you're thinking about. And I'm going to pass this over to the Toastmaster of the evening, Mr. David A. Marshall. Hi, I'm the Toastmaster of the evening tonight, and welcome. Our theme tonight is moms. This past weekend was Mother's Day. And for tonight, I'd like to hear something about how your mom made you into the great person you are today. If you read the email or you got a chance to read the email, I said you have a purpose. You were made for a reason. You were put on this earth for a reason. And your mom was definitely part of the reason why you're here. So regardless of the type of relationship we had with your mom, some have great relationships, some had a little rocky, but your mom contributed to the person you are today. So we just want to hear a little bit about yours and we'll talk about that. And so for our agenda, as Toastmaster of the evening, it's my job to be the conductor of this whole event, but I can't do it alone and have a general evaluator that's going to help me with helper roles. Our general evaluator tonight is Mr. Andrew Bullock. Mr. Andrew Bullock, would you like to introduce your helpers?
Absolutely. First, I'll introduce myself. Good evening. I am Andrew Bullock. I
Louder,
am the
Andrew, please.
ah. Sorry. Um, I am Andrew Bullock. I am your general evaluator for this evening. I like you to think of me as the operations manager, but also the observer. I'm keeping an eye on how everything proceeds this evening, and I will be giving my report at the end. And to help me along with my evaluation of the meeting, I have these little helper roles, starting with my grammarian odd counter, Mr. Lee Walker.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm serving as the grammarian and our counter. First, the grammarian. We want to speak proper English, correct English, use complete sentences. I'll make notes if something doesn't sound quite right and or anything interesting that somebody may say a word or a phrase. I'll counter. We try to avoid what's called filler words. You know, So, and I'll keep a tally or count of the filler words and give a report at the end of the meeting. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Alright, next open role is the Wordmaster Listen Up, Mr. Sundeep Rani.
Thank you, General Evaluator. So I would be the word master for the day, and today's word of the day would be equanimity. So equanimity, it means to just stay calm under pressure or stress. It's just to maintain composure. For example, people engage in meditation to strengthen their ability to preserve their equanimity in times of stress. So that would be the word of the day. And yeah, so I'll just keep a track of who's using the words and give the report at the end of the meeting. Also, I am the listener for the day. So I will hear the information the speakers are going to talk about today. And I will be asking questions at the end of the meeting to test your listening skills. So yeah, so back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Rani. Please post your word of the day in the chat so that everybody can see it visually so they can prepare themselves to use it this evening. Next, we have our timer, Miss Elizabeth Clare. Please tell us about your role.
Hi, fellow Toastmasters. Timing is so important. Why? Because you might be on television and you've only got a 2-minute slot. So you better have something to fill up the 2 minutes, but not more than 2 minutes. Tonight we have, or most nights, we have 3 different kinds of speeches. We have prepared speeches, 5 to 7 minutes. And when the speaker gets to the 5-minute mark, I'll hold up a green card, which means you fulfilled your obligation. And when they get to 6 minutes, there'll be a yellow card, which means you're halfway, almost there. And when you got to 7 minutes, you'll get a red card, which means start wrapping it up. You'll have 30 seconds before your time is totally up. If you're doing evaluations tonight, evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. You'll get a green card at 2 minutes. You'll get a yellow card at 2.5 minutes. You'll get a red card at 3 minutes, and you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up. If you're doing table topics, green at 1 minute, yellow at 1.5 minutes, and red at, backwards? Oh yes, but it's red anyway. Red at 2 minutes. So fill your time, but don't go over your time, and have a wonderful time. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Elizabeth Clare. I know you will keep us on time. Next is our Topics Master, and this role is filled by Miss Asha Zar. Please tell us about table topics. You are muted. There we go. You're now unmuted.
Thank you. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, Mr. General Evaluator, and guests. I don't know if you're a guest, Luke. I haven't met you, so if you are, greetings. What I will be doing as the Table Topics Master is introducing different subjects, and you can practice impromptu speaking. This will be a lot of fun. It's my favorite thing, and I looked for some really funny things for icebreakers, funny topics, deep topics. I did not know that they would be mom related, so we'll try to work that into it and also use the word of the day, equanimity. So I look forward to hearing everything you have to say about something within the space of 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Ms. Assazar. Well, all this and more will be presented in my General Evaluators report, as well as a report on our evaluators as they evaluate our prepared speeches later this evening. But in the meantime, let's get this show started. I will turn this meeting back over to Mr. David Marshall.
All right. Thank you, Andrew, very much for that introduction. And I have to maintain my equanimity because I'm wearing many hats today, and I actually am serving y'all as you all as how many ways can I say that anyway? Who's our word master today? Word master.
Me.
Master of words. Lee. Word.
Sandeep.
Sandeep. There you go. Sandeep. Actually, it's a grammarian role. How many times can I say y'all? Is y'all proper? That's a grammarian role. Lee?
No, I don't think it is.
What if you're from the
What do you
South?
say?
What about Elizabeth? Elizabeth, y'all. What would be an appropriate way to use y'all?
Y'all is a friendly way of speaking in the South. It's considered slang in the North and improper in really formal situations.
Okay.
But I would say y'all when you're talking to a whole lot of people and you want to be friendly.
So, what would you classify this situation?
This situation,
Yes, ma'am.
Toastmasters,
Yes, ma'am.
I think we're kind of a friendly group as opposed to a formal group.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would say y'all just for
Great, great answer. Yay. So one of my hats that I wear in this New Beginnings Toastmasters is that I do serve everyone here as president. I'm really glad to do that for you. And I also would like to welcome Mr. Luke Dobbs. He's our guest today. And welcome, Luke Dobbs. And thank you for spending time with us here. Would you say a couple of words to our friendly members?
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you, Elizabeth, for inviting me. Just looking forward to kind of feeling it out for a little bit and seeing how I can get involved. Maybe, like you said, get what I put in.
All right. We look forward to working with you, sir. At New Beginnings, no matter where you've been or what you've done, everyone deserves a new beginning. And with that said, we are going to get into our speaker portion of our event. We're going to move forward. And our first speaker will be Mr. Zach Phillips, our very own Vice President Education. He's working on a Pathways Visionary Communication. He's working on his L3 elective, Inspire Your Audience. So I'm looking forward to being inspired by a Vice President Education. His speech title is Remembering to Forget. Please welcome to the lectern, the brave and grateful Zach Phillips.
Thank you so much. Let's forget about ourselves and magnify the Lord and worship Him. Let's forget about ourselves and magnify the Lord and worship Him. Let's forget about ourselves and magnify the Lord and worship Him. Oh, worship Him, Jesus Christ our Lord. That song was the song, my mother's favorite song, for all I know. I mean, I say that because she passed away a little over 14 years. But that was the song she would sing in front of a small church of a congregation of 40 some odd people. And it's a beautiful song. It's got a great message, but as a kid, I was really confused by this. Because I mean, like I first heard her sing it when she was like, I was like 5 or so, maybe even younger. And so I was just trying to find my way into the world, you know, try to express myself, have a, you know, unique sort of personality. And here I hear about my mother of all people, you know, talking about selflessness. And just letting go and just, you know, letting go, letting God, and, you know, just letting God work through you. And so I've been grappling with this sort of issue. To be honest, I've wanted almost every speech, from icebreaker to even last meeting's icebreaker, or last time I spoke, to have something involving this memory of my mother. And so I just want to thank, just allow my mother to, speak through me, allow the universe to speak through me, and just do my best, because, this is actually the first time I've ever given this whole entire speech. Anyways, I've been grappling with that sort of memory, like what exactly should I take from that song? I mean, honestly, like you can go like fully devout and say, just completely just surrender yourself to God, just completely just be selfless, just like no ego whatsoever, just completely just devoted to God's work all day long, like some sort of devout, pious monk or something. And, that doesn't work so well in the modern world, I feel. But, I totally can get behind the concept of reducing your ego. So, forgetting about yourself, just like, sometimes sometimes letting people go ahead of you in line, or, just not necessarily, just not being so me-centric or you-centric, I-centric, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, there's that. I can sort of justify that, but I still I'm really sort of confused as to how I can sort of grapple it from day to day. And I think that I finally, after, plenty of soul searching, plenty of, watching the right videos, reading the right books, I think I feel like I've come across the best version of forgetting about yourself. And that is serving others. Serving others. I've thought about it time and time again, over and over again. And the real meaning of life is serving others, helping others, whether it be, guiding them to for me personally, helping them find the right, meal, or, the right drink, or the right, just giving them, above and beyond sort of service. Just, like if they, like basically it's empathy first sort of thing, like other person focused, like empathy focused type thing. And so that is sort of a lot of the forgetting about yourself. I mean, like there's been times where I've been at work, whether it's this job or other jobs like it, where I am just so outwardly focused that I don't even really think about anything in particular. It's just, like I'm always empathizing. So honestly, that is sort of what I would say about it. But truly, I feel like the song sort of has a couple cons. I love it so much. I mean, it's a beautiful melody, great lyrics, very simple. If you've listened to the whole entire song, it's basically that and like two other really simple verses. So yeah, I mean, but what I feel is another sort of like counterpoint to that is you've got to keep your cup full before you can provide stuff to others. And I know that sometimes that seems a little strange. Like sometimes you want to give till it hurts, and that's a very weird concept. And, maybe there's some validity to it. I don't know, but let's step away from money for a moment and just talk about energy. If I am feeling lethargic, I cannot, give excess energy. My cup cannot spill over into, giving others energy. If I'm feeling really, really negative, I mean, sure, there's some people who I see who will, spill their metaphorical cup on me and, raise my vibrational level. But, honestly, it shouldn't necessarily have to be that way. Like I should be the one who provides positivity to other people's lives. Same with love, same with all sorts of things. You got to fill your cup. And so my two key takeaways to this and to inspire you is to serve others, live life for others. I mean, not like constantly, not every single moment. You got to fill your cup. You got to love yourself. You got to, make enough money to give some money, in my opinion, tithing. You got to do self-care before, like health. Like right now I've been going to the gym, and, you got to do some self-care before you can give health and give energy to other people. But yes, those are my two inspiring things that I'm going to take away, from this speech I just gave. All right, thank you so much. Back to you, Toastmaster David.
All right, great job, Zach. Miss Timer, may we please get 1 minute for evaluations?
Time's up.
All right, thank you. Before we get to our next speaker, I just want to share a little something about my mom. My mom unfortunately passed away when I was 19 years old. But my fondest memory of my mother is she's my safe space. I just remember crawling up next to my mother when I was a kid, and always just wanting to sleep next to my mother because she was always so warm and soft and cuddly, and she always kept me safe and protected, and that's just the fondest memory of my mother. So she's my safe space when things get rough and things seem to go left in life. I always go to my safe space, nice and warm and cozy, right next to my mother. So our next speaker is Miss Tammy Adama, and she's working on pathways engaging humor. She's working on her L1 evaluation feedback number 1. And her speech title is What Do They Tell You? What They Don't Tell You. Motherhood. Powered by love, fueled by coffee. Silence is golden. Unless you have kids, then silence is just suspicious. Absolutely. Miss Tammy Adama.
If someone would have told me when I was a young girl that I would be delivering a baby the size of a watermelon at a tiny crevice in my body, I would have been like, putting those brakes on. When I went into labor, before the time where Lamaze and parenting classes were cool, I had the nurse come in, very friendly, cheery lady, and she says, I'm going to check you out. And there she goes. And then she says to me, you're ready to deliver. Can I go to the bathroom first? Oh, no, honey. She pats my hand softly. You don't have to go to the bathroom. You're ready to push. Oh, well, nobody told me that. I deliver a beautiful baby boy. And in the days where the hospital didn't kick you out just hours after delivering, the next morning the doctor comes and says, did your milk come in? No. I don't know. You'll know. The next morning he comes in again and says, hello there, young lady. Did your milk come in today? You'll know. The third morning he struts on in and says, oh, I was sound asleep. I finally got some sleep. And he wakes me up and just starts to ask, Did your, oh, your milk came in. Very good. Horrified, I looked at myself. I'm covered. I'm wet. Oh. Then I get to bring my beautiful bundle of joy home. I'm so happy, but they don't give me any instructions. I don't feel qualified. But I take him home, and here I hold all my dreams in my arms. I put him into his crib, and I finally lay down for some much needed sleep. Until, it sounds like 1,000 sirens coming in through my bedroom door. Oh, I wish I could say that would be one time, but it happened several times over several months. It never seemed to end. And then there's the diapers. Well, nobody tells you the smell one little baby can make, or that you may need an entire box container of wipes to clean them up. You should be able to bathe his whole body with a container of wipes. Well, it doesn't end there. And they don't tell you this stuff. They don't tell you that as they start to crawl and walk and run, that they're going to want to touch everything. They touch it with their hands and their fingers and their feet and their toes and their mouth. Oh, my son hid a piece of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich under the couch cushions. And a few weeks later, I was lucky enough to stop him just as I seen this green fuzzy thing coming towards his mouth. Oh, really? And if you decide to have more than 1, 2, or 3, they will gang up on you. It's true. One day I'm just cleaning the house and I walk into my kitchen and there sit my babies in a mound of powdered iced tea mix. And I can't even yell at them because they look up at you and they say, "What's up, mommy?" No, thank you. Then they break your heart. They go to school and leave you all alone. Then they meet friends and they're out more often. And then that day comes when they bring home that special one. And she whips them away for most of their time. Then they move out. And they don't even return your calls or your texts. How's that for gratitude? They don't tell you about any of this when you become a mother or a parent. They don't tell you the great amount of joy and that is powered by love, but fueled by coffee. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, great job, Tammy. Thank you for your motherhood speech. Can I get 1 minute on the timer for evaluations, please? All right. Thank you, Miss Elizabeth Clare. So that is all we have for speakers tonight. And I would like to hear about other your moms. So let's take a little bit of 5 minutes or so, and let's talk about moms today. So I talked about my mother, and my wife is of course a mom, and she's fantastic. And I think moms have superpowers because my wife does some amazing things that I don't know how to explain it. But does anyone want to talk to us about your mom and tell us a little bit about her?
I'll jump on into that discussion. My mother was, I think, in my opinion, the best person in the world, but she was one woman that liked to lay down the rules of the household. Number one, I don't care how old you get, you're still my baby. I don't care how old you get, you are still my baby. I don't know how many endless times I heard that. The second one was, you need to be a little bit more economical. You need to stop spending more money. It may have not been the right word, but that was her phrase. You need to be a little bit more economical. And I used to say, I used to scream and holler every time I heard those phrases. But I knew as I got older, I started, turning into my mother, started saying things that she would have said. And then oftentimes I have to look back and think, was that her? Oh, no, that's me. But she was someone who also impressed me because when she suffered with leukemia and she was getting to the end stages of her life, she was a fighter. She wouldn't give up. She refused to not go to the bedside to commode, that she wanted to stand up rather than use a bedpan. She refused to let her strength dwindle to nothing. I remember the last time before she passed away, she said, Don, I need you to help me get up. Because if I don't stand up, I don't think I'm going to make it. And I stood her up, and she didn't last long. Once I set her up, she was like, can you get, don't be mad at me, can you get me back in the bed? That next day she passed away. But she showed me such a tremendous amount of strength as a woman that you can endure anything. So to me, she's the best mother in the world. She'll always be the best mother in the world. But I will always remember those quick phrases that I sometimes reflect back on the younger generation. Well, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
That's a great story. Man, I think that's blessed all of us. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? No. Okay. Miss Elizabeth? There
When
you
I was
go.
a kid, my mom was the best mom in the entire world. And then when I became older, my mom was like, we butt horns a lot.
Mhm.
She had to rescue me from a disastrous marriage. She put up with a lot because my father had been killed in World War II, so she had to go out and work in a factory. And I was really raised by my grandmother because I seldom saw my mother. She was always working. So I got more attached to my grandmother than to my mother. And there were times when my mother and my grandmother would fight, and I would try to stop them from fighting. And my mother said, I'm leaving, and you can come with me or you can stay with your grandmother. Choose. That was a big trauma in my life because I knew I needed my mother, but I loved my grandmother. So it was like really, really hard. Years went by. She helped me raise my two kids. She was a wonderful grandmother. And my son told me that he and my mother got along really well because they had a mutual enemy, me.
Oh, wow.
And as my mother got older and when she lived to 94, she lived upstairs from me. I took care of her and I paid her back all the diaper changing she had done for me because I changed her diaper for her. And she got very, very sweet. She had a brain tumor the last 6 months of her life, and she lost a lot of the inhibitions that she used to have and became just as sweet and loving and darling as she was when I was a small child. So she died on my birthday. And I thought that It was the only gift she could give me. I told her it was my birthday. And she was sort of in a coma from morphine. And I could have taken it any way at all. You know, like that's the saddest day of my life would be my birthday. But I took it that she had hung on so long and she'd been in so much pain and she'd been such a long suffering thing that her gift to me for my birthday was that she let go and passed away. Mr. President, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That's a good way to remember your mom in a positive light. You know, like she held on long enough to see you through to one of your birthdays, and that's a great memory.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're at this point, before we go into table topics, I think we should take a 5-minute break. Mr. Lee Walker, can you
Hold on,
join
timer
us?
support.
What's that? Oh, timer's report. Thank you.
Timer's report. Okay.
That's why we
Zach spoke for 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Tammy spoke for 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Both qualify.
all right, both qualify.
And to explain to Luke, to qualify, you need to not go over 7.5 minutes, because now we're going to vote. And you can vote too as a guest, Zach. Luke, you can vote too as a guest.
Oh, I think I hit the wrong button. I might have skipped the poll.
How much time do we have to decide? Like a minute or?
Couple seconds.
I'll give you 20
Okay.
seconds.
I can't just vote for two people?
No, you
Rough.
just dive in, vote, and then jump back out.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You know what? I'm just going to close my eyes.
We got two left.
Go back and forth and back and forth. And I choose you.
I
Okay.
did that with the toggle and I shut my eyes, and the one that it landed on, I clicked submit.
There you go.
One more. You got one more left.
I'll go ahead and stop it.
Okay. Awesome. All right, and that is why we surround ourselves with good people. Because Andrew, go ahead, and was my backup to remind me that we needed a timer support. And now we can go to break. Mr. Lee Walker, you adjourn us for a break. We'll come back in 5 minutes.
Good evening, Toastmasters. On break, 5 minutes.
All right. So Tammy, what made you want to come up with that speech? Like, how did that? Is that like wait? You're doing evaluation feedback. First one. Okay, so you're taking this speech, the feedback from this speech, and using the feedback for another one. Correct.
Yep.
All right. So Luke, when it comes to pathways, we have several different projects that we have. First one is an icebreaker, and then we have some evaluation of feedback and what else, Andrew?
I think the third or fourth is research.
Yeah, research. Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Present
about. Thank you.
Number one.
Yeah, research and presenting. So we have several different projects, and the first project I think this is the second one for the L1. Tammy's working on evaluation feedback, and you pick any topic to speak of, and you use the feedback from your evaluation to improve on your second speech.
Is that for every pathway? It seems.
The level 1 is unique to all paths. So level 1 is the same for all the paths.
Oh, okay.
So whether there's 5 speeches in level 1, right, Andrew?
Yeah, officially, yes. There's
5 speeches.
5 speeches. One is actually an evaluation.
Right.
Mm. I was very moved by what you said about your mom, Elizabeth. That, well, how things came full circle to her mothering you.
Mhm. Yeah, parenting is a full-time on-the-job training. I
It
Very
got,
is.
much so.
what's that?
Well, the one thing I think about is what you said, Elizabeth, about when you have that great relationship, it brings about this equanimity that is so profound. Like when my mother's last day and her breathing started getting very slowed down, I called my brothers who both came in, which was normally not like them. It was hard to get in touch with them, but on that particular day, I was able to call both of them. And I was able to get both of them at the hospital. I called my dad, who had went back home to rest a little bit. I said, things are, she's starting to leave us. So my dad got hospital. All of the children were in the room with her at the time, and her breathing was just a slow, steady pace like this. And I remember going in the room and whispering in her ear, "We're all here. Every last one of us are here. So if you want to let go, you can let go, and just know that I love you." Because that's the one thing I wanted her to hear. Because as a nurse, that's the one thing we will always was their hearing was always the last thing to go, and I wanted her to hear me say that I love her. But after I told her everyone was in the room with her, about a minute later, that's all of a sudden the breathing started to slow. It's almost like she waited. She heard us and she waited until everyone got into the room. And I kept telling her, "We're all here. If you're ready to let go, Mom, you can let go." And the breathing just stopped. And I knew before they even told doctors even came, I knew she had already left. And they came in, they said she passed. I said, "Already." So almost like she waited until everybody came into the room and she said, "I can close this chapter. Now I can end this chapter and transition." And that's what she did. And it will be nothing as powerful as that moment right there. That's the one thing I'll always remember. That's why when it comes to Mother's Days, I'm very up and down, up and down. Do have the peace in knowing she was there and that she could hear us. And when Elizabeth was telling this mom and her being sick and her passing away, it is such a transition that words can't even describe. But I always say it's a marvelous time that God has given us to have. Be there with them when they do leave. So, and another thing she used to tell me is, I don't know who you think you're fooling. Everything has already occurred under the sun. You're not doing anything that I don't already know about. So don't think you're being sneaky with me because I already know. That was another phrase she always said.
Mhm.
She always said, don't even think you're doing something I don't know about. I've been there, done that, got a book for it. I'm the author.
I don't. Oh,
In 5 minutes.
New Beginnings Toastmasters Club, please come back to order. We'll be moving into the table topics portion of our meeting. Let's welcome our table topics master, Asha Zar.
so I have a lot here for everybody. I was hoping we'd have more people because I have 14 things here. Is there anybody who would like me to not call on them? Woo! All right. I will start with you, please, David Marshall. Remember, if possible, even though I did not talk about your mothers or know that that was the theme, which should have occurred to me with Mother's Day being this past weekend, 2 days ago, if you could somehow weave her into your answer, that would be really great, as well as hint, hint, using the word of the day. So this is my question for you, please, David. If you did not know your age, how old would you estimate yourself to be?
Well, my equanimity is in question here because you have picked me as the first speaker for table topics, and I have to fill in at least a minute. So, so if I did not know my age, what would I estimate my age to be? Correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
If I did not know my age, I would estimate my age.
Just by how you feel inside.
Woo. I would have to estimate my age to be the age that I am, because I think everyone knows that I'm a spirit. It's no secret that I'm a spiritual person. I love God, and and I'm a spiritual person. So I believe that there's no such thing as coincidence. I believe that everything happens for a reason, at a specific time and place, for a reason, by God, and everyone has a specific reason why they're here. So I would estimate that God is perfect, and he aged me perfectly at this age, 41 years old, about to be 42, for a specific reason, for his glory. And I am proud to say that that's my age. Back to you, Miss Table Topics Master.
I like that. So what you're saying is even your age is perfect timing for all the things that have happened and will and are occurring in your life.
Absolutely.
That's very nice. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to ask, what is the strangest thing you have eaten of our guest, Luke Dobbs, please?
Oh. Well, I'm still not very good at this, so I'm going to do my best here. In the spirit of equanimity, I will have to perhaps draw on travels to Japan and say, well, there's a lot of choices to choose from in that experience. Of course, you got raw fish, which I quite like now, and fish eggs. But I have to say, and to the horror of my sister, who is a horse lover, I think the strangest thing I have eaten is actually horse, a little bit, just a small little bit.
Was that in Japan?
It was.
How interesting.
I hope I'm not grossing anybody out, but it
Well,
was sort of an appetizer type thing, and it was served as a delicacy type deal, and I think it was slightly seared, but and I'm not sure if I actually really knew it at the time, but it was definitely a strange thing.
okay, so if you had known it, would you have tried it?
Probably just out of social convention or maybe peer pressure, perhaps.
Okay. Well, thank you. So you ate it without knowing, but you still would have embraced the novelty of it.
Yes.
Okay. My sister-in-law, one of my sisters-in-law and one of my brothers were in Japan for 3 and 2 years, respectively, teaching English. And they never tried anything like that because they were vegan at the time. I don't know about any of the rest of us here, but I would love to try fugu. As long as I knew that the chef had been making it for at least 20 years.
Right.
Yeah. Did you ever try that?
I don't think I have. No, I don't. It's. I feel like there's been the opportunity, but I don't think I actually did.
Okay.
I've seen
Um,
this.
can we do my questions as separate from his talk, I hope? Because that's the only reason that his time's going over. Sorry. That was my follow-up.
He spoke for 1 minute, but
Oh, good.
I didn't put up the green, but I thought I would.
Oh, okay. So I should go on to the next person, obviously. Thank you,
Before you
Elizabeth.
go on,
And thank
Asha, I have to say I couldn't help but to laugh at David because when he was talking about that horse, David's mouth was like,
you.
It's probably a
As
good.
I did it.
I couldn't see all the faces.
All right. Zach, if you would please answer this question. Have you ever given yourself a haircut or dyed your own hair? And what were those results? Did you like them, loathe them, or somewhere in between?
Thank you for that great question, Miss Ashazar. I actually have given myself several haircuts over the years. A friend of mine, the person that I actually moved up to live with, well, I now live near him in Virginia Beach. He shaves his head every single day, so he gave me a pair of clippers. And I've never been the most steady, regular haircut person. So one time I think I did it just randomly, just actually completely shaved my head, or at least I always think that, well, like when you're doing it all by yourself, there's really only one true option, and unless you can do like a series of mirrors, and which I do that, but like especially during true quarantine, I shaved my head, and I think you can see some of the YouTube videos or whatever with me like completely shaved, well, not shaved, but trimmed up, nice and tight. So yeah, I have shaved my head, never dyed my hair, but I'd be afraid that it would thin out even more than it already is currently. Thanks so much.
You're
Awesome
welcome.
question.
So I have a follow-up question to that. After COVID, would you be willing to shave your head again?
Well, and if I should, there's like hair treatment stuff like keeps and Hims that I'd like to try. But if that doesn't work, which I know it will, but if that doesn't work, I'll consider doing it again. It's actually not a bad look. I do look a little bit like Charlie Brown, like perfectly round head. So, but yeah, I would consider doing it again.
You could always do it. I mean, you could always do it close to Halloween.
True.
Yes.
The old pumpkin head look.
Right. I want to ask Donna, what is your favorite kind of food to eat and or cook, please?
my favorite kind of food to eat, I would say, is calamari. I just went to an Italian restaurant in downtown Norfolk called Leone's.
Mhm.
They had the best calamari I have ever tasted. The first experience of calamari was the little rings, the little ringlet form. And I thought that's what it was until one day I ate somewhere different and they gave me calamari and they had the rings, but also mixed in there were the actual squid, whole pieces of squid. And I was initially grossed out thinking it was going to taste different, but the texture and everything was still good. I love the crispiness and the texture of calamari. So when I ordered it at Leone's, I want to say it with an Italian accent, Leone's. It had that crispy texture to it. Nothing was like that texture of calamari. So if there's anything that's my favorite food is calamari, but what I love to cook and that I'm an expert with is crab cakes. I am the crab cakes cook that you've seen. I don't use hardly any filler. I use all back fin. If you want to know a recipe on the best type of crab cake using your air fryer, I can provide that to you. I have friends that place orders by the dozens for my crab cakes. They're that good. So if I say the one thing I know how to cook well, it's crab cakes. What I like to eat is calamari. So you could tell that my whole favorite type of thing is seafood. Back to you,
Yes.
Table Topics Master.
Yes. Well, I certainly saw some faces and with a lot of piqued interest in their eyes.
Yeah,
You might have
absolutely.
more orders coming.
When we get back to in person, we know who our first snack master will be.
Oh yes, most definitely. Make your little crab cake balls.
May I do more? Lee?
Yeah, we can do 2 more.
Okay, Lee, please, if you could buy property anywhere in the world, where would it be? Money is not an object.
Table Talks Master, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. If I were to buy property somewhere in the world and money not an object, don't worry about it. Probably, I don't have really any place specifically. It's just probably an island somewhere in the Caribbean, somewhere like that. Maybe Hawaii. I just really don't think about buying real estate or property. I don't know. I'm just real simple. Just in recent time, I'm just trying to make my life simpler, more easy, not have all these things to worry about. But if I had the opportunity, yeah, probably buy an island somewhere and enjoy the warm weather, the beach environment, water, ocean, those type of things, because I'm used to living here at the beach and I like being outside, being at the beach. So that's what I would choose. Madam Table Talks Master.
I like that so much, Lee. I very much like that your goal would be an island because you could enjoy more of what you're enjoying right now. And that was a beautiful, I want to say equanimous. I don't know if it's a word. It sounds like it could be written out, but it was a beautiful answer and just full of equanimity with who you are and where you are today. So thank you. Andrew, if you could please tell us, maybe besides music, if you collect anything and if you could describe your most prized possession. My most prized possession is a blue soda-like rock because I like collecting rocks. But is there anything quirky that you like to collect and that you can describe for us?
Wow. Now you're asking the deep questions. What do I collect? Truth is, I honestly haven't collected anything in a long time. But when I was a kid, I used to collect katanas. And I had a collection of over 30 katanas. And they were all very unique in their own way. They were different colors, different types of blades. I mean, they were beautiful. And after a certain point, I I just stopped collecting them and I started selling the ones that I had. And I made a sizable amount of money selling them. And I can honestly say that while I enjoyed collecting them, I didn't really see the point of why I was collecting them, even though I was doing it. And so that was actually what led me to just go ahead and sell them. I have a katana now, and I'm actually about to get a new one, but I'm not going to have the collection that I had before. Simply because Now when I'm collecting things, it's more for functionality more so than just being odd or different. But yeah, so katanas. That was my little quirky thing. Thank you, Madam Tabletop Master.
Thank you, Andrew. I had forgotten about those, but I remember one of my friends, well, my ex's son, he collected those. So thank you for the reminder. And his son loved to show them off. Let's see. Tammy, have I called upon you? I think I haven't called upon Tammy or
So it might either Mr. Sandeep.
Sandeep. So
Tammy's a speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So excuse me, Sandeep. For you, I would like to know, and I'm sorry for calling on you, Zach, since you were a speaker, but Sandeep, what is on your bucket list for what you want to do before this life is over? What would you do today if you could?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting question. So my bucket list would be to go on a world tour, but probably start off with Europe initially. Go to my favorite place, that's Paris, and then start off from there. Go to Germany, Switzerland, France, Italy, and Greece, and then go over to the Turkey and that area, and then maybe I'll travel to a few islands like Hawaii and then Mauritius, Caribbean. Actually, I want to explore Caribbean as well. So that would be a few places I would like to visit before I die or something. And then, was that your question? Yeah, so that would be my bucket list. That's what I can think of right now.
Well, I wish you could do it right now. Starting tonight.
And, yeah, so if I want to do anything right now, I would travel to Las Vegas right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be it.
Thank you.
Back to you, Asha.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Mr. Ronnie. Thank you, Sandeep. So Tammy's the only one left and I can't ask her a really cool question, Mr. Toastmaster.
Well, you do have Elizabeth Clare also.
Oh, Elizabeth, I didn't call on you? Well, I'm going to ask you this question in that case, please, because I want to hear somebody's answer to it. If you could travel in time, backward and forward, would you prefer to meet your ancestors or your future descendants?
Hold on a second. Oh, I get the time. Okay.
I got you.
Okay, thanks. Asha, oh my God, what a question. What thoughts you make me think. I want to do both. I want to meet my future descendants if the world lasts and they are able to exist. And I would also like to meet my ancestors. I would love to meet my Canadian sea captain ancestors who built ships and sailed the seas, and life was really difficult in those days. My great, ever so great grandfather was a sea captain, and he took his wife with him on some of his voyages, and she gave birth while she was traveling with him. And in his journal, he just wrote down baby born, and he gave the compass points of where she was. And they went through a tsunami when they were near Valparaiso in Chile, and he had to put his wife and the baby off in a little boat with the sailor, and they went out to sea, and the tsunami came and splashed everything down. They thought each of them thought the other must be dead by now, and they didn't meet up for a week because, of course, there were no cell phones in those days. But she was safe with the little rowboat and the sailor, and he was safe in his ship. So I think I would love to know more about his travels and the adventures he had, because he didn't write a lot about these things. He just said, tsunami in Valparaiso, ship needed 6 months worth of repairs. That's all he wrote. But someone else had written the story. So, Madam Table Topics Master, thank you for that question.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I wish he had been as prolific as you.
Yeah.
I do have one question for you, Tammy. And it is, if you could be an animal, what kind of animal would you choose to be? Only one. I know you're an animal lover.
If I could be any animal, which one would I choose to be? That is a good question, because I am an animal lover and I would love to experience being every kind. But maybe a dolphin or a whale, where you're just swimming in the ocean all day and all night and playfully jumping out of the water and breaching and just being this free, glorious creature. And you get to spend all your time in the ocean. Who wouldn't love that? So if I had to choose, I would probably have to choose that. And I don't know how I would feel about having to eat that much fish, especially raw and bones and all, but I guess as a dolphin or a whale, then I wouldn't care so much because, well, that's what they eat, right? Thank you, Miss Table Topics.
Thank you, Tammy. I would like to, I guess we all know, do we all know that Tammy loves animals and has a small menagerie at her place? And I want to thank Tammy for the time I visited and we went swimming in her dolphins. That was a lot of fun. And I like sushi. I know we've talked about food a lot, so I would be happy to do that, except I'm a land lover. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Tabletop, Ms. Master Asha. You did a great job. Everyone did a great job answering. That was our table topics portion. Now we go to our last
Timers report.
Now we'll go to our last timers report before I report. I was getting ready to say.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Ms. Elizabeth Clare.
We had wonderful times. David, 1 minute and 45 seconds. Luke, just about 1 minute when you include some of the questions. Zach, 1 minute, 15 seconds. Donna, 1 minute, 40 seconds. Lee, 1 minute, 20 seconds. Andrew, 1 minute, 40 seconds. Sandeep, 45 seconds. Tammy, 1 minute, 10 seconds, and I don't know my time.
1 minute, 55 seconds. I actually sent it to you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, so there it is. 1 minute, 55 seconds. So we all qualify. Sandeep, 45 seconds. You asked Sandeep an extra question, so he actually got a whole minute in there. Okay, good. Sandeep, 1 minute.
Okay, let me correct that then. Give me a second.
I think I'd be a horse, but not one that was raised in Japan.
Yeah, I agree.
Good point.
I ate something in Japan that tasted like rubber bands. Very embarrassing when you've been taken out to dinner and you have to eat what the appetizer is.
Guessing that would be octopus, maybe.
I think it was some kind of sea anemone.
Wow.
Had ostrich before. I'd gone to a very nice French restaurant in Orlando, and a group of us would pick a restaurant, a different restaurant every month. It couldn't be a typical chain. It had to be a restaurant that no one had gone to, and it had to be a delicacy that is not the common delicacies of the US. They had to be from another country. So we went to a nice French restaurant and I had ostrich. Actually, it was a very delicious meat. It was very lean and I wouldn't say it was sort of had the taste of beef, but it looked like beef medallions. But it was really delicious. I was surprised. And I knew that before I bit into it that it was ostrich. I didn't bite into it, then they told me afterwards. I actually went into it knowing it was ostrich.
One more.
I have a few friends from Japan, and one invited me over, and I was really enjoying the dish of escargot and asked for more. And in the middle of the delicious second serving of it, I stopped thinking about how good the garlic pesto was, and I suddenly realized I was eating snails and lost my appetite pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've had escargot too. It does have a texture it's very rubbery. I think
Thought
it's
it
very
was
rubbery.
kind of soft and melty,
Oh,
kind of
really?
like raw oysters, but once once my brain clicked in and I stopped enjoying the taste.
All right, we will now move on to our next portion of our event, the evaluations. Yeah, Andrew, you got some? No,
I'm sorry, what? Yeah.
no. Okay, I thought you was gonna say something. Okay, our first evaluator will be evaluating
Oh,
Zach. What? Evaluating Zach Phillips' speech. Sandeep Rani will be evaluating Zach Phillips. Sandeep, you have the lecture.
David. So yeah, Zach, good speech. You did a good job. So you had a good opening with the song. You had a good opening, and then you had a great conclusion. It was well structured, I felt. Um, and when you started off with the song, I think you just attracted all of the people. You just brought everyone into the speech. And then you had a decent pace. You spoke with clarity. You had good vocal variety and everything. And you just conveyed what you wanted to convey. You had a good message as well. So it was more like a personal speech. So, and then since you are like standing up, we could see more of your hand gestures. So that was something good. So that would be the positives. And what I felt, few negatives was that maybe compared to your previous speech, your comfort level was a bit lower. I think maybe you were a bit underprepared. I would say, like because I felt like you're just like seeing up into the ceiling, or sometimes like down, maybe at your notes or something. I just got a feeling that maybe you're a bit underprepared. Like sometimes you're just trying to recollect your thoughts, and then your eyes just moved away from the camera. So yeah, so that is just one of the drawback I felt. Your eye contact. Um, Apart from that, so that would be the things you can work on. Maybe the next time, just focus more on your preparation, and so that you can try to maintain your eye contact better, and look into the camera more. And maybe you can just incorporate a bit more of hand gestures. Maybe yeah, so you can try something, experiment a bit of hand gestures a bit. So yeah, overall, I felt it was a great speech. Just that your eye contact was sometimes missing. Like I felt like that. So yeah. So thank you. Back to you, David.
All right, thank you, Sandeep. And for our guests, we evaluate everything we do because at New Beginnings and every Toastmasters, we want to improve upon our public speaking. To do that, we want to improve on our grammar, we want to improve on our listening skills, we want to improve on evaluating skills, into improve ourselves. And that's why we evaluate everything. And we have table topics to work on our public speaking impromptu skills. And so every part of our designed to help us improve our public speaking skills. And our next evaluator will be evaluating Miss Tammy Adama, and Donna James will be evaluating Tammy. Donna, you have the lectern.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, Tammy's speech was what they don't tell us. Motherhood powered by love, fueled by coffee. First of all, the topic was very intriguing because you're trying to figure out what's happening here. We know it has to do something with motherhood, but in what capacity does it have to do with motherhood? I like the way you progressed from one level of a child's development stages to the other, to the point where, when you think about children and they get older, they forget about their parents. Matter of fact, it was a very important speech because it connected to something I saw today. Every now and then I go to TikTok, and I confess I look at TikTok every now and then. And someone posted a video of them they were recording themselves telling people that if you have parents and your parents are older and your parents are entering into long-term care facilities, you need to check on your parents, call them, see what's happening with them, see how their care is being completed and what's being done. And she made a comment that there were so many negative comments given back to her of how dare you say that they're adults. They don't have to check back up on their parents if they don't want to. That's their choice. And it was jaw dropping to me because I feel like if my mother raised me or my father raised me, how dare I walk away and then act like they don't exist? So when you started talking about how they became older and then they don't even pick up the phone to call you, it brought me back to that remembrance. So you created a connection for me, which was good, which is really great when you're giving a speech. You want to be able to captivate your audience and you want them to be able to connect on something that you said. And you did that when you started your speech. I think you had good vocal variety. I think you had a good tone and a movement in your speech. I think that you had a great time. I don't know what your timing was, but I believe you were within the time. But I think you delivered a very powerful speech. Now, the one thing I would suggest you improve upon is you had the hand gestures and some facial expressions, but you didn't have a lot of body movement with the amount of space that you were given. And I felt like every time you moved forward and the video became lighter, you kept being more conscious of can they see you? So it would kind of throw you off or slow down your pace. So whenever that happens, like we did when we had a district contest, they had a camera on us. They had a big light, and we had to not focus on the light. Try not to worry about and focus on the fact that they can see you or they can't see you. Other than that, I think you've had a great speech. Now, the one thing I would say do in your future speech is bring in the coffee aspect of the title. You had that in the title, but I couldn't figure out how the coffee connected to the speech. Was it that you needed the coffee to keep you awake, to deal with your children, or that was your calming vice whenever things started to escalate and your children started to change in different ways that you had to adapt. So I would bring the coffee piece into that because I was wondering where that fell into your speech. But all in all, it was a fantastic speech. Keep it going, develop it, use the body language, and I think you can do a terrific job. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the evening.
Right. Thank you, Miss Donna James. Donna James is the president of Garden Speaks Toastmasters that meets on Sundays at 2:30. And that's a great visit if you're on Zoom Sunday afternoons, great vibe. And I would encourage you to definitely visit Garden Speaks, a great group over there. And I just want to say before we get the timers report, I just want to tell a small story because Tammy told a little story about her son with the I guess what was it, Kool-Aid or iced tea or something like that. When my daughter was 2, I think she was 2 years old, just starting to walk, so probably around 15 months, probably 18 months, just starting to walk, we had 2 mini poodles who, even though we walk them, they tend to do stuff or leave surprises around the house. And so we had the house, we had, of course, baby gate so that they would, be confined to, for safety, and just, and we bring this up to her all the time. She's 13 years old now, but apparently one of the dogs left a surprise somewhere, and she just kind of walked up and she kind of went, it's just, yeah, it wasn't good. But we always make fun of her about that. Daddy. So I just want to share that. Can I get a Tyler's report, please? The thing.
And this is recorded, your poor daughter.
Oh,
And live.
Mr. Toastmaster. Sandeep was 2 minutes and Donna James was 3 minutes. But that's the end of my report.
All right. Awesome. And that is our evaluations portions. And now we go to our general evaluation. Just like I said previously, we evaluate so that we can get in better, improve, and become better speakers. So our general evaluator will generally evaluate our event. And if he so chooses, our evaluators and table topics, Mr. Andrew Bullock.
Hello. How is everybody? Did you enjoy the meeting?
Yes, yes.
Good.
It was
So
lovely.
here's how we'll do this. First, I will go to my helpers and have them give their report. Then I will follow up by giving my report. So let's start with my grammarian odd counter, Mr. Lee Walker. How did we do with our grammar and our filler words?
Thank you, Andrew. Grammarian, the only thing I came up with was from Zach. Somewhere in the middle of his speech, he said, there's that. I don't really remember the context of the sentence that was said, but that could be, may have used that as filler words also. So odd counter, David, 2 so, Andrew, 1 so, Sandeep, 1 2 2 so, Zach, 1 so, 2 2 you know, 2 yeah, YEAH, Donna, 1 you know, Asha, 2 so, and Luke, 2 Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Walker. Sandeep, did we use equanimity very well today?
Yes, Andrew, thank you. You used this. You used it just now. I heard Asha used it twice. David used it twice. Donna James used it once, and Luke used it once. And I think Tammy did not use it verbally, but I think she had mentioned in the chat. So that would be my word master report. So as for the listener, I have a few questions with me. So I'll just start off with Zach's speech. Which one quality did Zach tell everyone must possess? Which one quality did Zach mention everyone must possess?
Self-love.
What's it?
Love of service. Love of service. Self-love.
Letting go.
Selflessness.
I thought it was service. Serving others.
Yeah, serving, helping others, empathy. Those are some few things which he mentioned. What did the doctor ask Tammy on the first and second day?
Ah,
Here's your
the
milk
milk
coming.
carton.
That's right. And what did Tammy's son hide under the sofa?
Ooh, peanut butter and jelly
sandwich.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, that's right. Lee Walker.
I'm a better cleaner these days.
Which country did Luke eat his strangest thing? Strangest food?
Japan.
Nihon.
Japan.
Worse.
What did Zach's friend give him to shave his head?
A razor?
Clippers.
Slippers.
First.
What is Donna's favorite food and what does she love to cook?
Calamari.
Sorry, crab,
Cupcakes.
crab cakes.
Crab cake. Yeah, okay. So where does Lee Walker prefer to buy a property?
On an island.
Yeah, he mentioned a couple of islands.
Caribbean, Hawaii.
Yeah, Caribbean and Hawaii. Yeah. So what animal does Tammy like to be?
Dolphin.
One more.
Or a whale.
She mentioned two actually.
Dolphin.
Dolphin or a whale, I
And a
think.
whale.
Yeah, whale. Yeah, dolphin and a whale. Yeah, so that's what I have right now. Back to you, Andrew.
Thank you for
Alright.
keeping us on our toes, Sandeep. I always got to pull those questions to see if we're paying attention. Thank you, Elizabeth, for keeping us on time. I always appreciate our timer. All right. And that concludes the helper role reports. Next, I will give my journal evaluation of the meeting. Hold on one second.
Timer, would you please time Andrew for 1 second, please?
So, thank you. I first want to discuss our table topics. So, everybody had an opportunity to share and give their 1 minute speech, and we don't normally evaluate our table topics, and that's fine. I will say this. One of the most important things about table topics is keeping our time commitment. You gotta speak for a minute. That you wait for that green. Even if you're not quite there, you just keep swimming until you get there. And I'm not saying fill it with and so, but just add more thoughtfulness to your answers. Now, sometimes it is difficult depending on the question you get, but you don't have to just answer the question. You can always add more to it. You can segue into something else. You can kind of play with the question and you can do whatever you want. This is kind of one of the skills that we learn in Toastmasters. How to speak professionally and how to adapt in difficult circumstances. So just want to keep that in mind. You know, if you're having difficulty answering a question, remember, there are options. There are things that you can do to kind of expand and meet your time commitment. And that's all I'll say about our table topics for this evening. For our evaluators, one of the things that I always tell people when preparing for evaluations is we evaluate the presentation, but not the content. Yeah, sure, we always have those little pointers about how they can improve the speech, but we're here to focus on how the speech is delivered. So, the eye contact, the body language, the visual setting in which they are presenting their speech, all these things are very important. And yes, some people do not complete their speech. Some people make a few mistakes here and there, and we get it. But what we're here to do is improve on our delivery. So always, 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 always evaluate the delivery. There is a criteria for each of our speeches that is actually broken down on the evaluation form, and we like to follow that just to make sure that whatever can be improved upon on delivery for the next speech It is stated in the evaluation. Both of our evaluators did do that, in addition to giving a slight evaluation on the content. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, we always have to make the focus on how they can improve their delivery. And that's all there is. We began our meeting on time, and we stayed within our time commitments for the most part. And we prepared adequately for our meeting. We had to make a few adjustments because a few people dropped out at the last minute, which is completely understandable. But the show must go on, and we made sure that that happened. The communication and preparation for the meeting was adequate. I would like to see a little bit more communication to kind of get more people involved, though. One email is not often enough to prepare for a meeting in the time that we have before the next meeting. I would step up the communication a little bit more, maybe send multiple emails, kind of remind people, hey, we got a meeting coming. So people are constantly present to the idea of, hey, we got a meeting coming, let's go ahead and get started. Let's get involved. What can I do to help increase this meeting? Maybe not necessarily fill the agenda, but get more people involved. And that's all I have for my Journal Evaluator report. And I will pass it back to our Toastmaster Evening, Mr. David Marshall.
All right. I am a very big Queen and Freddie Mercury fan, so when Andrew noted "I must go on," I don't know if you ever know about this. Zach might know about that. Zach, you know about that song.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's awesome song. I'm a big.
Dramatic. I mean, for
I'm
Queen,
glad you guys
dramatic.
picked up on that.
What was that, Zach?
Even for Queen, which are known for their dramatic songs, that's
Yeah.
like over dramatic. Not over dramatic, but it sells the drama very fully.
Yeah.
Nice falsetto, David.
What's that?
Nice falsetto.
Oh boy, I didn't even try. So, I don't know. I couldn't do that for very long. So, I'll